It's an early start for us this morning. It's just gone 6 o'clock and we're just making our way in between all the tankers, as you can see here. One just behind us. So we are planning a trip from the River Hamble, which is here, right the way down to Brighton Marina, which is over here. Now we've not done a lot of this coast at all on this side. We've pretty much got as far as here, which is Chichester. So what we're going to do is we're going to come out of our marina here and we're going to head out into Southampton water. And then we're going to take the North Channel here. And we're going to do a stop probably at Priory Bay, which is just here. And the reason we've chose Priory Bay is because we want to head out this way. We actually need to get to Brighton with a fairly reasonable tide. There is a little bit of silting that happens apparently in this bay, so they're advising us to get there 2 hours before low water, which we're going to be there in plenty of time. We're going to be probably an hour or two after high. But also we want to get the current going with us in this direction as we go across. So that makes it a little bit challenging to navigate from Chichester out, because again you've kind of want a fairly high tide to get over the bar here to come right out, and then obviously to make your way down you want another high tide there, and that isn't going to quite, I mean that's 10-12 hours, so you could come out as the tide is rising here and then try and make it, but it's probably going to be a little bit too much, so there's no point. So what we thought is we've had a couple of good recommendations for Priory Bay, and if we just flick over to predict wind, that is here basically. So we've got the UK model this side and we've got the GFS model this side, and when these things are kind of in agreement then you're probably in a pretty good place. So we're going to end up leaving on a Wednesday afternoon because again we want to catch the tide in this direction. So if we jump to, that should be about 12 o'clock, so if we jump to about 2 o'clock, not particularly windy, but again nice direction, tide will start to turn then and be with us, and we should be down here in Priory Bay for probably around this sort of time. And as you can see, both models are saying that the wind is kind of coming across the Isle of Wight, so that bay will be really protected. And if we just backtrack a little bit in terms of swell and things, the wind speed is really quite low. So at the moment, obviously, it's going into that bay, so that wouldn't be too pleasant, but it's got a whole 24 hours really of the wind going the opposite direction, which should cut any residual waves right down. And then, as I say, in that evening, we've got a really favourable wind conditions really to sort of to anchor down in there. If we move that forward, so we spend the night there, this model is predicting quite a lot of wind on the Thursday, which is the day we're going to go. So we'll probably end up leaving around sort of 6 o'clock in the morning, and as you can see, there's quite a bit of wind. But again, not too bad because again, it's kind of, hopefully in terms of sea state, it's kind of built quite quickly. So we'll have to just see, but obviously there could be a bit of swell in that. I've just been having a look at the wave map, but hopefully not too bad. Favourable wind, and then as you can see, the wind, we'll kind of just stay on the tail end of this. I think this model's slightly different. The wind will be a bit more behind us. This will be sort of on stern quarter. This will really be almost a dead downwind run. So we'll just have to see what happens between those two models. If we just go over to the Navionics chart, no real gotchas. This is all okay. We'll come outside of all of this, outside of no man's land fort, and then I don't know here. I might come in this way, and then sort of curve in that way. I might just come straight across this because again, doesn't seem to be any real dangers in any of this. This is a little bit shallow, but again, 6 meters is loads of water there. And then my plan is, this one's Priory Bay, isn't it, is to get into this patch here, which looks to be sand. So this nice 2 meter patch here, or just on the edge of this, on this 3 meter, and anchor somewhere there. Again, I've heard a little bit of sort of negative feedback around boats sort of blasting in and out of here, but I don't think it'll be too bad at that sort of time of the evening. And then following that, what we'll do then is we'll head straight across here. If we just zoom out a little bit, Here's Chichester, just for reference. We'll cross this sort of separation scheme. It's just the channel for the deep vessels to come in. That's there, so we'll just cut straight across that and get ourselves on this side. And then we've just got to navigate through this here because there's a ledge that sticks out. Again, we've not been round here, but on the end of Selsey Bill, there's a ledge that kind of sticks out, so we don't want to go anywhere near that. So what we'll probably do is we'll probably get ourselves on this side, and then we'll come down here through this gap here. And then there's another one here. We'll stick then and stay inside of all of this. And then if I just zoom out, Brighton is there. So again, we'll probably stay just inside all of this, straight across there, past the big wind farm and into Brighton. Plan to spend a couple of days there because again, if you start looking at the wind a little bit later, we're going to be there Thursday, sort of this time. We'll stay there Friday because the wind just doesn't know what it's doing. It's going all over the place. And then it looks to be changing a little bit. So we'll probably come back here either Sunday or possibly Saturday. We'll just keep an eye on this because it's a little bit far in advance yet. But again, either sort of wind behind us or stern quarter, maybe beam reach. That'd be quite nice to come back. And then we might try and head into Chichester because we can leave here as the water sort of the tide is going out, and because we'll know a little bit more of what the situation is in Brighton, but we can time that a lot better because it's the time that we're actually leaving, and then we can make our way back round, and we may bob into Chichester again. I don't mind coming back in sort of evening time for this, early evening or even sort of as it's going dark, and we'll try and time it to get into there, or we'll just come straight the way home. We'll just see how we feel and what the weather's like. But that's our plan over the next couple of days, so it should be an interesting trip. We've got a couple of jobs to do before we get sailing, and one of those was to change the radio. So we've had this old radio in here for a while, but the volume control, you kind of had to surprise it, so it was getting really difficult to start turning it up and down, so we've replaced that. It had a CD player, so we replaced that with a much smaller unit. It's really thin, it's dead small, but same make, but it's got Bluetooth on it, so we can stream to it now. So we're just going to push that in place. It was a real pain to get out, but the new one's gone in quite easy, so that's that job done. And we'll get that fired up. We've got a couple of things to do. We've got to fill it with water because we've not put any water in yet. And Chris has gone to go and get some provisions, and then we can get going. So we'll see you in a bit. We're just saying, every time that Chris seems to steer the boat, we go really fast.
8.2.
How, you know, I sail it and it's like 6, 5.5, 6. Chris sails it, it's like 8.2.
8.2. Check out those sails.
And we've got a reefed sail. We haven't even got that much wind either. We're pretty.
13.7 knots of wind, and we are doing 8 knots exactly.
It's just not fair. So we bought ourselves a new kettle, haven't we?
Yeah, because the other one was rubbish.
It was cheap from a camping shop. Well, yeah, it was from a camping shop, wasn't it?
Yeah, because our original kettle broke, so we then just a little bit of dinner tonight. Nice camembert with some cheeses. Our other kettle broke, and we were in Guernsey, and the only shop on Guernsey that was selling kettles, they were about £100 a kettle. So we then went to a little camping shop, and the camping shop had some kettles, but it was rubbish. But it worked for a period of time.
But you've upgraded now, haven't you?
So I've upgraded to an Amazon special.
And it's amazing.
And it's really good.
You were just saying when it's boiled faster.
Boiled really fast, yeah. The other one took ages. It was only little. And it was one of those stupid ones where you tipped it and it burnt your hand. And
the handle has stayed really cool on this one, so that's also very good, especially when you
touch it.
And it's got a button as well, hasn't it, to press to open the flap, which is really good again on a boat because it just means you've got a bit more control over it if you get a bit of a wave, whatever. We're doing okay. So quick look over here. We're doing 5 knots again. We almost stopped just, but we're back up to 5 knots. We've got a boat just here in front of us. But yeah, other than that, we're doing really well.
Catherine's on watch.
Yep, Catherine's on watch up there.
There is a boat over there.
Is it going the same way as us, or is it going the opposite way?
No, it's a ferry that's come like that.
Ram it!
No, it's going to ram us.
Let's go have a nosy. Let's see what she's spotted, because she is on watch for a minute. Okay, so we've got a boat there, we've got a hovercraft here. Ferry's going that way though, isn't it? So we don't need... Which ferry? This one? Yeah, he'll be across before us, Catherine's. He's motoring. Yeah, sorry, that ferry is coming this way. There's the other yacht. There's the hovercraft. Good watch skills. We think it's important for Catherine to do a little bit of this as well, just to get used to, you know, what's a danger and what isn't a danger. She's doing very well. Cold. He's just keeping an eye on this ferry, but he's going to cross us before we get there. So how we do this, again, a lot of you will already know, but we kind of pick something on the boat. So we pick something on the boat, and if he's moving ahead of that, then he's going to be in front of us. So he's passing this rope now. I'm looking at this rope, and he's doesn't matter. You pick a point, and he's passing that rope faster than that. So he's definitely, if he was staying exactly where it was, then you know you could potentially have a problem. But he isn't. He's gaining in front of that rope for me. So that's absolutely fine. Right, we're gonna have a cup of tea. We're just down at the fort now. Weather's changed a little bit. We've got a little bit of rain, which we knew was coming. So we're just gonna skirt around the back of the fort, and then we're gonna go head in. And this is the bay here that we're staying in tonight. And the wind is coming this way, so it's really quite good.
Does it just explain about the submarine walls? Why
Oh
you
yeah.
have to go round? And
Yeah. So that's a good point actually. So a lot of these, there's like a barrier underneath, or there's an obstruction. So you have to be really careful, and you have to come through sort of set points. Obviously, one of them is right between these two forts, and then it's the same over here. There is a cut through on this side. I'll show you on this side. There is a cut through there, but again, you can get stuck. So we've anchored now just off Priory Bay. Just to show you where we are, look, here's Priory Bay. Actually, I think this could be Priory Bay actually, this one. This is Bainbridge Harbour, which is the one I couldn't remember to before, and this is St Helens Fort on the end here. Just past that, let me just make sure I'm going in the right direction. I don't know whether you can see that, but that is the lifeboat station. I believe you can actually walk out to the fort at low tide, but I might be wrong on that. But yeah, there's St Helens Fort, and then this is the entrance to Bainbridge Harbour, which is very shallow, but I think once you're inside it's okay, but there's a big bar just there. We're in about 2 metres of water here, and it's low tide, so you can obviously maybe a little bit more, 2.2 metres, so you can see how far away we actually are from the beach. It's quite a long way really. It's quite nice. This is probably the best conditions, the most ideal conditions we're ever going to get here. There's a tiny little bit of swell coming from this direction every so often. Don't know whether that's visible, but it's really, really small. It's more often than not traffic. And then we've got quite a few tankers with us. They're obviously all waiting to get into Portsmouth, or possibly Southampton. I'm not quite sure, one of the two. Might be Southampton actually, but they're all anchored off here. And then there's one out right in the distance over here. But this is basically where they get them to anchor and to stay before they take them in. The wind originally was from over here, so any swell that's built up you know, won't have been all that strong because it's getting caught on the end of the Isle of Wight. And then again, for the next couple of days, the wind is kind of coming, or has been coming this way. Overnight it was coming kind of here, and now it's coming here. So again, it's not going to have a chance to build that swell, so it should be quite a comfortable night. Wind again for tomorrow is same direction, so that'll be sort of behind us. It's been a little bit off today, but not far off. But we did manage to sail all the way down, which was really nice. So Christine's got the tea on. She's cooking some pasta.
Pasta,
I'm just having a nosy at the ships. We just made sure that the anchor isn't dragging. I don't know what the bottom is here, but I could hear either the chain, because I don't normally anchor, Chris normally does the anchoring, but I've had a go today. But I could hear the sort of the chain undoing as it was pulling tight. Either that or it was dragging on a little bit of stone, so I'm not quite sure, but it seems pretty solid. I'll just go in to the front and show you what else I had to do as we were sailing down. So our snubber's on, so you can see that's quite tight, that. So that's definitely got us. And also on the way down, I had to take this apart. So I've taken the outer part of this off, because every time this thing just gets jammed up solid. So we're going to run with it a bit like that. I might end up even taking this off, I don't know, but that can be tightened up now. What's happening is the part that sits inside, that actually puts a little bit of pressure on. One side is really good, but the other side's just gone really weak. So I think every time a bit too much rope kind of goes up the drum, it's not putting enough pressure on to make it sort of, you know, feed on the drum nicely. So we're going to just get rid of that for a bit, because I'm sick of it getting snagged every time we want to let a bit more sail out. So that's that done, and we'll see how we go. I believe a lot of people have taken them off. Either that or we'll have to get a new outer part on the drum there. I'm not sure you're going to be able to see any of this, but it's quite interesting out here. There's a cruise ship just here, and then we've got these tankers. There's one. This one's going out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all anchored with us for the evening. They're probably just going to seem like lights on that camera, but they're pretty well lit. This one in the middle particularly, which actually you can't see that well on the camera. But yeah, I might go and just grab the other camera, see if I can do a little bit of zooming in. And then the forts are all lit as well. And then you can see right down to here. I don't know what this is, but there must be a pier on the end here. That's all nicely lit up now. And then the bay. I actually think this is Priory Bay, this one. I think this is Seaview Bay, where we are actually anchored. We maybe should have gone a little bit further down, but it's absolutely fine. And then the fort here on the end's got a little light, and every so often you can see that. But yeah, it's really nice. It's an early start for us this morning. It's just gone 6 o'clock, and we're just making our way in between all the tankers, as you can see here. One just behind us. Just got through a bit of a wash. We had an okay night over here. It was a bit rolly, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very rolly actually.
We had we did all right till about 2 o'clock, and then I don't really know what happened, but it started getting really quite rolly, and then it settled down again after that. But yeah, supposed to be okay today. We had a lot of rain last night. Everything's absolutely soaked, but a lot of rain. But supposed to brighten up today, so it should be quite a nice day. We're heading for this Loo Channel at the moment, so we're just crossing the sort of the entrance to Portsmouth where all the tankers pile in, and then once we're on the other side, we'll make a little bit of a turn down to the Loo Channel. That's what we're up to.
About 2 hours later, we were at the entrance to the Loo Channel, but unfortunately, at this point we had to change our plans. We hadn't been feeling well ahead of the holiday, and by now we were feeling pretty rough. So rather than head another 4 hours across towards Brighton, we decided to turn round and head towards Chichester. Brighton will have to wait for another time.
So it's like really, really windy currently, and we're kind of rocking all over the place. So we're going to move into our harbour.
We stayed a couple of nights on the Chichester Visitor Pontoon, which is just past Itchenor. We got ourselves better, we did a little bit of exploring around the town, and here are a few of Catherine's photos.
So So we've left Chichester now, and we're just making our way back. A little bit hazy today, but it's quite a nice day still. We've just got our front sail out because the wind's pretty much behind us, or it will be in a second. It'll be even more behind us in a second. So we've just got our front sail out. Just keeping an eye out for everybody. A few people out. Sea state's nice. A little bit of swell, but nothing major. So hopefully you can see the screen there. I've started to use AvNav a little bit more. I'm quite impressed, to be honest. It's really quite nice. The buttons are a little bit confusing. There's a few confusing things you just need to kind of get your head around, but I've started to understand it a little bit more. And in terms of responsiveness, it's really good. It runs really well in a web browser. I'm quite impressed with it, to be perfectly honest. So I might do a little bit of a video on actually just setting it up and what I've found so far. But you can see us here. We're heading for Winner. And there's a yacht just in front of us, which is here. Hopefully you can see that. We're doing really well. We're doing almost 5.5 knots. We're almost touching 6 then. And the wind angles down here. This again, I've not got this probably set up quite perfect just yet. But in terms of like, it just does auto tracking, so it does an auto track every day, and you can click on that. You can convert that to a route, so you can do lots of different things with it. So there's some things that are already set up for you, and then other things that are a little bit more tricky. The routes and waypoints, that's a little bit more tricky to do, but I'm getting the hang of that. And you can convert a track, which is quite nice, straight into a set of waypoints and a route that you can reuse, and you can flip the route back around the other way. So when you're doing the reverse of it, you can do that as well. So yeah, quite impressed with it. So I'll do a bit more with that. I don't know whether you can catch that kind of roll that's going on. Folks on board this boat don't particularly like that. It's not doing it just at the moment. I'll try and anchor the camera on something, and then you can kind of track it. It's a weird motion. It's not a sideways motion, but I suppose it's like a backwater kind of motion. The side of the boat kind of tries to dig in a little bit, and then you kind of go round a little bit. Here's one. That motion. Yeah, it's calmed down a little bit now. It was a little bit worse just a few moments ago. I'm just making a little bit of room for this guy to come through. He just appeared out of the mist, so we're just moving out of the channel a little bit more for him.
Well, I hope the video's been helpful, particularly the passage planning part at the start of the video. It was a shame we didn't make it to Brighton, but maybe next time.